Judge William Fletcher stated on June the 9th that Diana Roper called the sheriff's department to tell them that her boyfriend, Lee Furrow, had come home in the early hours of June the 4th. He changed out of his overalls, which he left on the floor of the closet. He was not wearing a tan t-shirt that he had been wearing earlier in the day. He left after 5 minutes and did not return. Roper and her father both concluded that the overalls were spattered with blood. The sheriff's department never tested the overalls for blood. They never turned them over to Cooper or his lawyers, and disposed of them on the day of Cooper's arraignment. Roper later provided an affidavit stating that a bloody tan t-shirt found beside a road leading from the murder house was Furrow's t-shirt. It was a Fruit of Loom t-shirt with a breast pocket. Roper stated that she recognized it because she had bought it for him. Roper also stated that a bloody hatchet found beside a road leading from the murder house matched Furrow's hatchet that was missing from her garage. Judge Fletcher stated, Furrow had been released from state prison a year earlier. He had been part of a murderous gang, but had been given a short sentence in return for turning state witness against the gang leader, Clarence Ray Allen. The leader was sentenced to death. Furrow told his friends that while he was part of the gang, he killed a girl named Mary Sue Kitts. He cut up her body and threw her body parts into the Kern River. Clarence Ray Allen previously had a disagreement with the Ryans over a horse he had purchased from them. Judge Fletcher related that in Diana Roper's 9th of June call to the sheriff's department, she told them that when Lee Furrow had come home in the early hours of the 4th of June, he arrived in an unfamiliar station wagon with some people who stayed in the car. A further investigation revealed that Lee Furrow's stepmother lived less than 5 miles from where the victim's station wagon was ultimately found. According to Cooper's attorneys, at least 3 witnesses have come forward saying that Furrow confessed to the killings, and that they would be willing to testify under oath if called upon. According to the Ninth Circuit, Roper's allegations quote-unquote lacked credibility. Roper was abusing drugs and hallucinating the night that she says she saw Furrow. She also had motive to disparage Furrow because he left her on the night of the murders and began a sexual relationship with her childhood friend. Furrow provided his DNA for testing. A law firm appointed by the governor of California to review the case concluded that no DNA evidence points to a person other than Kevin Cooper. In 2001, Cooper became the first death row inmate in California to successfully request post-conviction DNA testing of evidence. However, the results of those DNA tests failed to exonerate him of the 1983 murders, and indicated Cooper's DNA was present both at the crime scene and in the stolen station wagon. Hairs found on 3 of the victims were likely their own, and no DNA belonging to any other assailant was present. DNA testing confirmed that Cooper's blood was at the crime scene. However, it would later come out that the blood vial containing Cooper's blood possibly contained a second individual's blood. Judge Huff would block any attempt to pursue the matter during the hearings, and the vial itself would later be found empty when the defense won the right to retest it in 2019. More importantly, prosecution expert Daniel Krugonis had checked Cooper's blood out for 24 hours without informing Cooper's attorneys, alongside his saliva and the bloodstain recovered from the house. Cooper's DNA was not on the hatchet, one of the murder weapons. The hatchet had blood from victims Jessica Ryan, Doug Ryan, and Chris Hughes. In May of 2018, Nicholas Kristof wrote an article in the New York Times highlighting the case, arguing that the truth could be determined by doing advanced testing on the bloodstained t-shirt, the hatchet handle, and the hand towel used by the murderer, and including diagrams showing both that Lee Furrow's stepmother lived close to where the victim's car was recovered, and that Officer Stephen Moran most likely planted evidence to frame Cooper. Soon afterward, Kamala Harris, who was first against the test, and Dianne Feinstein both publicly called for advanced DNA testing. Several months after the article was published, Cooper's proclamations of innocence continued to gain traction, including winning the support of Kim Kardashian, who tweeted that she'd met with Cooper on death row and believed that he was wrongfully convicted. On the 3rd of July, Californian Governor Jerry Brown hinted that he might be willing to approve DNA testing, sending Cooper's attorneys a list of questions. On August the 17th, The defense submitted their response, revealing that they'd managed to acquire Lee Furrow's DNA for testing. On October the 6th, Nick Kristof wrote a follow-up in which he reported that Lee Furrow had told him that he was open for testing to clear his name. In December of 2018, outgoing Governor Brown ordered new DNA testing in the Cooper case. The testing has since been revealed. Insufficient DNA was recovered from the shirt, but a profile that was neither Cooper nor Furrow was recovered from a hand towel from the victim's house. No blood from the victims was on the towel, and it was only assumed to have been used by the killer to wipe his hands. Vial VV-2 was also found drained of blood, which was described as unusual by DNA expert Bika Barlow, while A-41 was found to have an unknown profile that didn't match Cooper or the victims. In March of 2021, the NAACP Legal Defense and Education Fund sent Governor Newsom a letter arguing him to launch an investigation, noting that exonerations are disproportionately likely to result from cases involving black defendants and white victims. No one should have to serve decades in prison, much less on death row, absent confidence in their conviction, the letter added. 2 months later, Newsom appointed the international law firm of Morrison Foerster to serve as special counsel to the State Board of Parole Hearings, which is responsible for investigating clemency matters. In the report, the special counsel noted that they had not addressed several factors deemed outside the scope of their assignment, including whether Cooper's trial had been unfair and whether the charges lodged against him or the jury verdict had been improperly influenced by Cooper's race. They also didn't investigate Cooper's allegations of prosecutorial or law enforcement misconduct. They noted, except in instances in which they determined that they were relevant to Cooper's claim of innocence. Cooper's attorneys responded the following day, arguing that the investigation was quote-unquote demonstrably incomplete, and that the investigators had quote-unquote failed to follow the basic steps taken by all innocence investigators that have led so many exonerations of the wrongfully convicted. Kevin Cooper remains on death row until this day. Did he do it, or was he wrongfully sentenced to death? You decide. Let us know in the comments below. Until next time.